Brilliance Audio presents The Positive Shift, Mastering Mindset to Improve Happiness, Health, and Longevity by Catherine A. Sanderson, performed by the author. Introduction. I gave a talk a few years ago on the science of happiness at a large financial services convention in which attendees had the option to sit in on one of several presentations on different topics. At the end of my lecture, a woman came up to me to tell me how much she had enjoyed it. And then she said, "To be honest, I almost didn't come to your session because I figured that I would really hate you." Her comment was, let's just say, unexpected. So I thanked her for her unusual compliment and then asked her why she had such a negative expectation. She responded, "I just figured that anyone who talked about happiness for an hour would be all about rainbows and kittens, and that by the end of the hour, I would want to strangle you." I opened this book with that story to illustrate a key principle that I'll return to repeatedly in the pages ahead. There are indeed some people who are naturally happy and who do consistently see the world in an overwhelmingly positive way. These are the kittens and rainbows people. If you are one of those people, congratulations. And truly, you don't really need this book because you are already probably doing the right things to find happiness and good health. Unfortunately, I am not one of these people. I worry about far too many things. Is this traffic jam going to make me miss my plane? Is that pain in my stomach a sign of cancer? Is my son with mediocre grades ever going to get into college? My natural tendency is quite honestly one of doom and gloom, pretty much the opposite of the kittens and rainbows perspective. So how did I manage to write a book on strategies for finding happiness? Good question. For the past 20 years, I've taught classes and conducted research on various topics within psychology. As part of my job, I regularly read scientific studies to stay up to date on the latest findings in my field. Over the last 5 or so years, some of the most interesting and exciting research has come from an emerging field called positive psychology, which examines the factors predicting psychological and physical well-being. Here are just some of the fascinating findings from researchers in this field. Spending time on Facebook makes us feel sad and lonely. Expensive brand-name medicines provide better pain relief than the generic stuff, even if they share the same ingredients. Placing a cell phone on a table reduces the quality of a conversation. Patients in a hospital room with a view of nature recover faster from surgery than those without. People with positive expectations about aging live on average 7.5 years longer than those without. As I took in the assorted research and tried to synthesize it to share with my students, I became more and more convinced that these seemingly disparate findings actually illustrate a really simple point. Our happiness in daily life, the state of our physical health, and even how long we live are largely determined not by external events, but rather by the way we think about ourselves and the world around us. Why does spending time on Facebook make us feel bad? Because we compare our lives to other people's lives, and most people post only the good parts of their lives on social media. This leads us to think that other people consistently experience great events, successful kids, fabulous vacations, impressive careers, and so on. Our own lives can't seem to measure up. Why do expensive brand-name medicines work better than the low-cost generic ones? Because we think that costly medicines will work better than their cheap counterparts, and this belief causes us to act in ways that lead us to physically feel better. For example, if you are about to undergo a medical procedure and are worried about the pain, receiving a drug that you believe will reduce this pain will substantially lower your anxiety. And in turn, this decrease in anxiety will help reduce the pain you feel. As I read all this research on how our beliefs affect how we feel, I started trying to use this information to change my own thoughts and behavior to try to find greater happiness. So instead of mindlessly surfing the internet as I lay in bed, I made a point of finding a great book to read. Even when I felt too busy to exercise, I chose to take a 20-minute.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?